Start the meeting. It is 7 o'clock. So this is the regular meeting of council for May 28th. 7 p.m. For those in attendance here in the building and online, be aware that the meetings are recorded and they will be available for public viewing and placed on the website. So I will acknowledge that we are on the unceded First Nations land of the Haudenosaunee territory and call the meeting to order.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you so much. Questions, comments, additions, deletions, adjustments? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Adoption next. Adoption of the minutes.
Motion to adopt the minutes of the May 14th, 2024 meeting of council.
Second.
Perfect. Questions, comments, errors, omissions, anything like that? I did have one question on item number 6, the correspondence. About the removal of payphones. Was there any follow-up? I noticed that the installation was going to happen on the 7th, so that's before our next regular meeting. Is the only reason I bring it up now.
I have reached out to TELUS and the company that's doing the uninstall to no response yet, and reached out to 3 different respondents. Perfect.
I'm also it brought up the question for me about the way that the signage looks. The one at the dock doesn't have anything on it. The one at the store has the signage on it. And then the one at the harbor doesn't have anything about it and installing it on it. So I'm wondering if, I don't know if there's a way to get in touch with the harbor authority, see if there's been any communications from TELUS with them. Don't know, but that's on a federal building. So we may have more traction keeping that one there, keeping one in the community. I don't know if you get any follow-up, that might be something that just to pop in the back of your mind as a thought. You know, we need to keep at least one in community, I think, though. Anything else from anyone? Hearing nothing, all in favor of adopting the minutes from May 14th?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone, obviously, there's someone opposed, so that's carried. That was the only business I heard, unless there's any other business arising. Nope. No delegations, petitions, correspondence. Did you have anything to add to the report or anything, Scott?
No, nothing further.
Okay. So discussion. Any questions, comments? I had one question. I didn't see anything, but is there any talk about inclusion of First Nation, like mechanisms to include First Nations in these talks that aren't of treaty status?
There is a mention in the letter, recognition of the importance of First Nations participation in regional governance.
But it doesn't define whether treaty or not in treaty or not.
It's the Local Government Act is so broad that they're not going to be that specific in the letter, because it literally governs everything that local governments do. So I'm sure when it actually gets the reformation, that's when they'll start getting into sort of specific changes.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? Does anybody want to move the motion contained within the agenda? That the Village of Zeballos support the Regional District of Nanaimo's request and that staff prepare a letter of support using the provided template for the mayor to sign.
Sorry, I'm just
looking for a seconder.
second. Sorry.
Fantastic. Thank you, staff, for bringing that to their attention. Is there any other discussion on that? I think it's way past time that they did this, so I'm glad to see it on here. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. On to reports. Finance Department Operations Report. Through to staff. Do they have anything to add? Questions or comments about the finance report? Seeing nothing, I'm glad to see this follow up so quickly. Thank you from our last meeting that we had with the auditors. This is really good work, and I know it was already in the works. So thank you for putting it in a format of a report and getting it into us so public can be aware of what kind of initiatives were taken. What about Public Works? Anything to add to Public Works?
Nothing from me. No, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions or comments from council? I'm the one with all the questions. Water main flushing happened for the entire system. Just, is there a cleaning schedule for the reservoir?
For the reservoir?
Yeah,
There's not per se a schedule set up that I've seen maybe in the past year. I did see that the reservoir has been cleaned once in the past. Something I have looked into a little bit through some companies just to see what pricing and stuff would be. I don't think we're in any danger by any means. I don't think our reservoir is dirty. Our samples still come back very clean and water is still very clean. But I definitely think it's something that we would have to prepare for in the upcoming budgets and next year. Definitely take a look at it.
that's what I was wondering about it, if that was, and it would go through the operational budget, because that is an operational question. So thank you for bearing with me through that. I just, something highlighted it like on my memories on Facebook or something. Somebody was like, why is there chlorine in our water? But it was flushing of the reservoir, so it just brought it to my mind. So
And to add to that too, like all the issues that we've had with the SCADA and stuff like that have in turn somewhat like flushed out the reservoir because we had so many drops and then we would refill and stuff like that because of all those issues. So which has been in turn kind of a good thing, but yeah.
perfect.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget when the last one was done, but the diver that went down in there said it was one of the cleanest he had ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Perfect, thank you for that. And then the last one was on the Zeballos campground upgrade. I haven't gone down to investigate, so just from not even seeing it, is there any chance that that pit run that you guys laid would go into the river at all?
No.
It's in the sites, isn't it?
No, I just did it more or less on that back road. Like the wraparound road that goes by the washrooms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just to build it up a little bit. It was like way lower than the grass and water was pooling and stuff in there, and then we'll be capped with gravel and stuff coming up here too.
Okay, amazing, because I was just like, okay, so we get these high tide, then we get then the whole thing floods. Are we just doing, something for nothing? But it's on that back road, it won't. Perfect, thank you. Anything else from anybody? Does that trigger anything? Seeing nothing, we'll move on to fire department with the operations report. Anything to add? No?
Just a little bit, thank you, Mayor. The fire chief did want to express that she had great connections at the Prince George wildfire meeting that she attended. And just really wants to start to bring forward to the community the importance of the fire smart training and making sure that individual properties are adhering to those fire smart rules. So I'm going to see if I can work on a separate report for another meeting, but she did say that that is something that she would like highlighted.
Perfect, thank you for that. And I believe that is all available on the Fire Smart website, as well as there are some blurbs that come out through the Village Voice when we do those kinds of things, all about just keeping debris away from the sides of your homes and woodsheds and things cut back and that kind of thing. There's a lot of information on there. So yeah, it would be advisable for people to go on www.firesmart.com or something like that. Thank you. Questions or comments from anybody? CAO monthly operations report. Anything to add, CAO?
No, thank you.
Okay, questions or comments from anybody? Not seeing any. Second page of your report, 1, 2, 3, no. Oh, second bullet down. interview with CBC Radio regarding the continued rockfall danger along Maquinna. I was asked from this council to bring something forward to the Strathcona Regional District, which I did. I'm wondering if there is, and nothing has come of that. I know there was plans to plan a meeting down in Victoria with forestry, transportation, BC Wildfire, I believe, or maybe just the two ministries, I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything back about that, about timeline. I think the last thing I heard at the SRD meeting was that we were waiting for the MLA to have time. I'm wondering if we want to write a letter to the SRD requesting them to support us in writing a letter to the ministries while that in the meantime, like there's just no movement on this. And I feel like I'm just, you know, whipping a dead horse here. I don't know if you want to wait and leave it and just see what comes of it, or if we'd like to write a letter. I put that over to council as a question.
What happened at the interview?
CAO Nelson Smith.
Thank you to Councillor O'Connor through the mayor. The interview basically just highlighted the fact that since 2018, we're seeing degradation of that hillside. You know, the dead trees, or the stumps are finally rotting. The trees are coming down, which is dislodging rocks. We've had multiple rocks the size of small cars hit the pavement up on Maquinna there. And despite the efforts between Sean Koopman with the SRD, myself, we've made absolutely no headway in getting the province to take responsibility for that hillside. And so I relayed that to CBC, and it was sort of in conjunction with Mayor Colborne going to the SRD and requesting their support in going to the province.
And did that recording go out into the public? And
I can't find it.
you're kind of not sure. Yeah.
No. Somebody said that I sounded good, but that's all and I've searched high low on the internet to see if I can find a recording.
So we didn't get any traction from that, is what we're getting.
And then at the SRD, further to that, at the SRD, there was a lot of talk about the SRD. Well, why don't we just do this ourselves? Why don't we just do a replanting? Why don't we just, because it's not our property. It's the province's property. So you need to get permits for that. So really you need to ask them for permission to go, you know, somebody's tree falls on your fence and you can't just go and, you know, plant a new tree, you know, so, but I haven't heard anything back, and I do keep asking at the regional district meetings. It comes up as business arising for minutes, and I'm like, I still haven't heard anything. I'm still here waiting, you know. I wonder if we're just playing a waiting game, or if we should write a letter and say, we hope that the meeting with the province will be forthcoming through the SRD, or is it a waste of time?
Is there any way to push, like, this could be completely out of context, but having a lawyer write up to say what's going on here, like, why is this going, is that, or any between the municipal and the province or anything like that? Like, would a letter in that form get us any traction? I have no idea. I'm just
Through to the CAO with a comment that at the SRD, we talked about writing a letter, and at the bottom, if you say this is not protected under FOIPA, under Freedom of Information, this is a public document, that sometimes that does kind of push the province to go, oh, it's not government to government conversation. This is actually the public. So I'll turn it over to the CAO to answer Councillor O'Connor's question.
Thank you. Back to Councillor O'Connor. The properties that we're speaking about, we don't have any ownership over, neither the roadway or the hillside, so it's public safety. I don't think we really have any legal stance to take. Our argument is more, let's mitigate this before somebody does get hurt.
yeah, and that's all I was thinking too. I was, you know, thinking going beyond that, but you know what I mean? Sometimes you just need that little push of the, oh, they're getting serious kind of, so I don't know.
Well, let me put it a different way. Would council be against me penning something, writing something, putting pen to paper and then passing it through council to see if you guys got approved of it or not?
Go ahead. I think it took many, many years of nagging for the road, so let's just continue to nag.
Thank you. I'll work on that with the CAO then. That's just, it doesn't need a resolution, or should it?
It should, so that it is a direction of council.
Okay, so I would make a resolution that Village of Zeballos mayor write a letter to the Strathcona Regional District CCing the relevant ministers and asking for support and when we could expect a meeting to take place. As
Second that.
alluded to in the Strathcona Regional District meeting, whatever the date was. April, no. April 24th. And thank you. That was a second from Councillor Lewis. Questions, comments? Anything added, highlighted? Hearing none, did you get that?
Yes.
Is that clear and concise enough?
I'll read it back. The Village of Zeballos mayor write a letter to the Strathcona Regional District, CCing relevant ministries, requesting support from the Strathcona Regional District to ministries as per the, was it April 2nd?
April 17th.
Or April 17th, sorry. Strathcona Regional District meeting.
24th it was. Sorry.
That's okay.
Regarding mitigation of the 2018 wildfire area, because that's not mentioned in that resolution. Sorry, cleaning that up a bit.
Nope,
That was a motion on the fly, so.
I'll still second it.
Okay. Fire mitigation area.
Yeah.
Outside village. Okay, good. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. The last question on your report that I had was fire break pads around the emergency pads at the AVAC site to be done in-house by Public Works. Were we gonna clear any of the debris that's up there? Speaking of fire smart and all that, there's piles of from the wildfire debris that has been taken out, and also from some household debris that was left up there. There's a bunch of piles. Should we look at taking those out? Or they're gonna rot there? That's either way is fine.
We'll have to see what was written in the grant funding application, and B, whether the funding is there to provide that.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions on the CAO's report? All right, through to the 2024 UBCM conference. Did staff have anything to add to this report?
Nothing further, no, thank you.
Okay, so how I am going to do this is there's going to be a recommendation come out of it that people go and that we provide staff with meeting request topics. What I'm going to do is a kind of roundtable to see if anyone has topics for this UBCM this year. Actually, I'm going to do that backwards. I'm going to ask somebody to move the recommendation first in the report that we actually go. And then we'll do a roundtable and see what items we want to bring up. Really, the premier and municipal affairs are the two big ones that we have to do before our next council meeting. Does that sound like a reasonable way to go around things? There's a lot of information in here about what has been done in previous years. So if there's things we want to bring back, other things we want to move forward. We want to bring the resolutions from ABICC. But yeah, I'll get somebody to move the recommendation in the report first.
Recommend that may. Go ahead, somebody else started.
Prove that Mayor Colburn and Deputy Corporate Officer Janice attend the 2024 UBC conference on behalf of the village of Zeballos. And the council, using the provincial appointment book as a guide, provides staff with meeting request topics to submit for the 2024 UBC convention.
Second.
I'd like to propose an amendment to that. Because I think that 2 councillors should come with me. And the reason I think that is if we're putting resolutions forward, same with ABICC. I went to ABICC and I spoke of those 2 resolutions. And if we're going to put resolutions forward, then some council needs to be prepared to go with me, to stand up there with me and support that. So let's have that conversation. I'm going to put that at least 1 council member come with me. That is my amendment. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Who wants to go?
I have a dog. We could appoint Councillor Deck.
Oh, if you're not here, you're it. Oh boy, I don't like that.
Just a thought.
Well, you know, the reason I bring this up is that because it was interesting being there all alone at the ABICC. And bringing forth resolutions that we had brought together as a council, and I think that there needs to be some consideration of that. UBCM is a big conference. It's part of our duties to go and represent the community. I take a week off work, like everybody else would have to.
I would go with you, Mayor Colburn, if I could, but yeah, with my monster child, it's just not an option for me.
Well, then I don't know that we want to put any resolutions forward. Having meetings is good. I don't think we want to put any resolutions forward. That's what I would say. And I don't hear anybody waving their hand frantically, so I'm going to withdraw my amendment. But I wanted to have the conversation. We're going to have the same conversation next ABICC, next UBCM. If somebody's not coming with me, I don't want to go alone and get up on that floor and speak in front of 300 other mayors and councils alone. But yeah, something to consider. Okay, so the original motion is that Mayor Colburn, Deputy Officer Janice attend and provide staff with meeting request topics. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So that's carried. So now let's do a roundtable. Like I said, the premier, last year we talked to the premier about lot 501. Where's the sheet? 2023. Premier, we talked to Premier Evie about provincial support for mitigating the deterioration of the foreshore with a multi-ministerial approach. ICT, which I don't think is an issue as much anymore this year, and provincial minister positions. So through to the CAO, has there been much movement on that lot 50 foreshore project?
Thank you, Mayor Colborne. None, other than the grant funding that we received to move forward with the feasibility study.
So do we want to go to the premier again? Because last year I heard he wanted updates. That's what he said to us in the meeting. I'd like to hear about this. This is the most interesting project that I have heard in a long time. I'd love to hear updates. So should we request that meeting again?
I think yes, because if you can go there and go, hey, we've heard nothing, nothing's been done, no contact. Maybe that'll light a fire under him or something. Or get him to light fires under the ministries responsible for it.
That sound like a way forward? Does anybody else have anything alternate or as well as, or anybody against that?
Was it specifically where?
Premier EB. So for that one, we could do lot 501. Reasonable?
Yep.
We are doing the feasibility study on our, on our own again, which we still need help from the ministries for their experts, so. Okay, so you got that one, Premier EB 501. For sure, sorry. Then municipal affairs, does anybody have any ideas for that one? Oh, through to the CAO.
Thank you. Perhaps, because we did bring a resolution forward to ABICC, perhaps it's a good discussion for the premier, about the, non-discussed downloads from the province. So that same resolution that we brought forward to ABICC, perhaps it would be good for the premier to hear how it affects the smallest municipality in BC. I believe a lot of the decisions, in my opinion, a lot of the decisions are based off the Victoria's, North Vancouver's, and not the Zeballos', Port Alice's, and and Port Hardy's.
So that ABICC resolution got put through at ABICC. So that will go to UBCM. So it'll be an active resolution on the floor at UBCM. So yeah, we could do that. How do people feel about that? That was the one about legislative change, sweeping legislative changes, affecting capacity of small places, essentially.
No. Thanks.
Puts the bill make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so that one, and then the other resolution that went through the ABICC was, I don't have it written down here.
The three that we sent were that one, First Nations attendance at UBCM,
Yep,
and the last one was a regional provincial
regional
delegate.
provincial delegate. So that would be Minister of Municipal Affairs
Correct.
would be for that one. Okay. Municipal affairs. Is that okay if we pop that one in as a topic for municipal affairs about having some regional staffing help paid from the province to help us with these, to navigate these legislative changes?
Yeah, well, we had quite a good discussion on that, and yeah, it makes total sense to have one person deal with a number of small communities to help them in the capacity of the changes.
Okay, and that was the question I was asked when it went through at ABICC. This is a province paid position, right? This is not extra for us. And so I had indicated yes. So that's a municipal affairs topic. So now we have legislative changes and foreshore for Premier EB. We have provincial help with downloading for municipal affairs. Where would that non-treaty Indigenous UBCM conversation, that's a meeting with UBCM, isn't it? Okay, perfect. So that's, so going through the information in your package, were there any other items that you wanted to bring forward to ministers' meetings at UBCM? I have a question for the CAO.
Yes.
Could we Could we call it at that for Premier EB and Municipal Affairs, and on our next cow, have a second kick at this?
Absolutely. Yeah, for the staff meetings.
Yeah. Does that sound reasonable? And we'll have a really good discussion, review what we went, what we've gone through other years, and see if there's anything that's outstanding, still an issue, that kind of thing. CAO.
Thank you. Apologies for not thinking of this earlier. We just discussed it. If the Strathcona Regional District doesn't get meetings with the ministers prior to UBCM, the rockfall hazard along Maquinna would be an excellent topic to bring up to either the Premier or Municipal Affairs.
Which way do we want to go on that? Premier or Municipal Affairs?
I would say Premier, and because you're already discussing the most interesting topic that he found. And it really highlights the struggles of a small community for dealing with this sort of stuff. It's, you know, when it's that part is not even on our it's not even on village property.
Okay. So which one do we have for the what do we have for the Premier?
Lot 501 and sweeping legislative changes.
So we'll add the 2018 wildfire mitigation to that. Does that sound reasonable? Is there any?
We're not washing down. I would leave that in your court.
15 minutes, 5 minutes. Last time I went in and said, hello, Premier Edie, thank you for speaking to me. There's 15 minutes, there's 3 topics. I'm gonna set my timer. And we went through them.
No, I think I'd get your recommendation on that, knowing the agenda and timelines.
Yeah, and I think 501 will just be an update and like Councillor Lewis said, maybe a lighting of fires. So maybe that will be less of a, this is what we've done again, please talk to your counterparts.
Things on his list with me, yeah, maybe get from.
Okay, so those 3 for Premier EB, legislative changes, Rockfall, 501, for sure. And then municipal affairs, First Nations resolution, no treaty First Nations resolution. No, that's UBCM, sorry, excuse me, I misspoke. The regional help.
Correct.
Anything else that we want to bring forward to municipal affairs? And then I think maybe we'll let you guys ruminate on this. I'd ask that you go through the other ones. I'm already going because we already passed the resolution. So my limit is about 7 meetings. Any more than that, and I kind of get toasted out. It's 4 days and it's a lot.
It's intense.
Yeah, it's super intense.
Yeah.
But let's look through and see if there's any of these other things that are outstanding. I'll have a little bit of a conversation about it at our next CAL.
Yep.
Okay. So anything else from municipal affairs? Because that's the only other one that has to be in before our next council meeting.
I was just going to just reading through again to do with the water and sewer capacity, and the partnering with the First Nations. Is that something that was discussed then, and should it be discussed again? Is, you know, are things moving forward, or assistance from them, or?
I'm going to pose that through to staff. How do you think momentum and things are going with that? Are they going well enough that we need to bring them up to municipal affairs again? Or I think that was a new minister. Minister Kang was new. And it was like, this is what we face. These are all the projects we have. This is I think it was a more of a kind of introductory, but maybe
I'm sorry, Councillor Lewis, can you sort of relay what that discussion was about? I don't recall. Apologies.
No, I was just reading the return letter from that was addressed to Mayor Colburn and the members of council. It just says that they're glad of the efforts of the village's partners to, oh no, that was a reinstate the firefighting. Hang on a sec. Challenges, so no, that's a different one. Sorry. Applying for grants as well as providing drinking and sewer water capacity to support community growth is the line that's in there.
Which letter are you on, Barb?
I am on the one from Ann Kang, Minister. December 29th, 2023.
Oh, okay.
Ah. That's at the end of the package?
Just below the 2024.
No, that one's May 15th.
Yeah, it's at the back.
One.
No, that's really.
And it also states,
Yes, it is page 102 of 182. Thank
and
you.
also it said with respect to grant applications, I encourage you to connect with the municipal affairs staff to discuss how we can support. You know, they're all closed right now. Now, do we get lots of ahead time and not a week or two about grants that might be coming up to do with the different things like our infrastructure and that?
If you'd like me to bring that up with Minister Kang about the lack of lead time on grants, I would be more than happy to bring that up
Well,
as part of that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're dealing with so many communities that just don't have the staff capacity to instantly, you know, work on a project when they've got 50 other ones that they're trying to do with the, you know, staffing that they have. So, you know, some lead time would be, you know, a week or two or sometimes 3 weeks is not enough time. Just throwing it out there.
No, and that's great, because last time we went and said provincial support on planning and development, we talked to them about, I think, and that was canceled because we had too many topics, because we were only allowed 3. So maybe, yes, that does that sound like, I mean, it was something we were going to talk about last year anyways, about longer lead times on grants and things like that especially for smaller communities. That's something we want to add. That's definitely a Minister of Municipal Affairs issue.
If there's room, I would say yes, Adrian.
That's a pretty important one for us because that's where all of our funding comes from. So
And it ties, you know, it ties in with the first topic, right?
Yep.
Okay, so what do we have for municipal affairs so far then, if we add that?
Just provincial regional delegate and then lead time, or I do believe we also wrote about better unconditional.
Yes, yep, better unconditional grants as well. I think actually we talked to UBCM about that as well. So then could you add to your list to talk to UBCM about as well about lead time on grants and the First Nations, non-treaty First Nations participation in UBCM, because then that's a different meeting with staff to talk about that at
Sure.
the CAP.
Yep.
Okay, so if you guys can if we all can read 94, 95, 96, 94 through 98 and bring those pieces back for Cal for our next committee of the whole meeting. that if we need to have any other ministerial meetings, those will come out of that conversation. Does that sound like a reasonable plan moving forward? So we're not stuck on this right now?
Yeah, if they're not required immediately like the other ones were, yes.
Is that okay, CAO? Does that sound like a reasonable path forward?
Absolutely.
Let's do that then. Okay. And thank you for providing all of this information for us. It's a lot of information, but it was fantastic to figure out who goes where and what that looks like. Okay. Do you need those via resolution or not yet, or?
No. For bringing back the community as a whole.
And I called the question on the resolution or the recommendation.
Yes.
Perfect. We're gonna say I did. All in favor?
Aye.
Me going and bringing and planning meetings. Any opposed? Carried. There. Now it's done twice. Better to do it twice than not have done it to begin with. All right. That brings us all the way to bylaws. Green Communities Fund Reserve Establishment Bylaw, CAO.
Thank you, Mayor Colborne. This was brought up as part of our audit findings. This was a requirement of receiving that funding, so staff has provided this draft bylaw for first, second, and third reading, hopefully.
Perfect. Anybody willing to make that motion?
That the
Rick.
Growing Communities Fund Reserve Establishment Bylaw 552-2024 be given first, second, and third reading.
Second that.
Questions or comments? Thank you again through the staff for doing this so quickly. As soon as I know that these things are already underway usually when we're talking about them, but the quick turnaround on this is fantastic. So thank you to Claudia and Deputy Finance Clerk Janice as well. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Village of Zeballos noise bylaw. CAO, anything to add to this?
Nothing further.
I had a conversation with the CAO today about moving these things. There's three things that are in here. There's a bylaw, so a noise bylaw. There's the staff report, which of course lays it out for us. There's the noise bylaw. Then there's the bylaw enforcement policy. And then there's the toolkit bylaw dispute adjudication system. Those are all contained in here. Conversation I have with the CAO is, should we be moving the bylaw enforcement policy ahead of making more bylaws? Because what's the sense in having bylaws without having a larger mechanism and a more definitive, actionable, without court costs, enforcement process? What we landed on was these are all so intertwined that it really didn't make sense to move it. So these are I'm going to ask if there's any conversation about the report first, and then we'll go through each of these piece by piece, because I think they're all equally and interconnectedly important about where we are going to go and what we are going to do in getting people to take notice of bylaws, for the people who, the 99% who go, oh, didn't know that was a bylaw. Okay, got it. Good. And then the 1% who is, I'm going to call bylaw on you. Well, I'm going to call bylaw on you. Well, I'm going to call bylaw on you. Well, I'm going to call bylaw on you. So there's a back and forth kind of thing that goes on a little bit here. So I just wanted to preamble this with, I think that there is value in maybe possibly at the end, all of these coming out together. I know that, you know, a cow is probably needed, but if there's any questions that council has to bring forward to staff so that they know what to bring us in a committee of the whole, that would be really helpful. So, questions on the staff report? Okay, hearing then, I've got one for page 109, second paragraph under noise bylaw. It says easy to administer.
Yes.
What is the process with, first of all, does the SRD use an adjudication
System.
system?
SRD is currently on the municipal ticketing information system. Speaking with the bylaw enforcement officer, she would like to move that way for the SRD, but it hasn't come before the board yet. So something that she is working on. And a lot of municipalities are starting to go that way due to the ease of the administration of those tickets. You're not waiting for courts to be, available to prosecute the cases. It's a completely separate adjudication system, which is specific to municipalities and local governments.
Run that whole answer past me again. So the SRD doesn't use the adjudication system. They use the municipal ticketing authority.
Yes.
And the bylaw officer wants to use the ticketing authority because it's easy to administer, or wants to use the adjudication process because it's easy to administer.
The adjudication process. The municipal ticketing information process is a legal bylaw, so it's still, if a person's not paying that fine, it still ends up in the BC court system. And typically for a $200 fine, the courts are not going to look at that easily.
Okay. Do you have any indication, or have you talked to any of your colleagues that do use the adjudication system on how long the wait is for an adjudicator?
I can find that information if this goes to the committee of the whole.
Okay. I'd be interested in knowing that when we come back. If that's where we're going, if we're going to turn this into a cow conversation, I think it needs a closer look, and I think that these are all things that are needed. We need to get some teeth in our bylaws. Any other questions on the staff report? So on the second, on page 111, under bylaw enforcement, it says upgrade enforcement policy. There is an enforcement policy that is contained in here. In your view, do you think that it would be good to have that policy passed, the one that's contained in the report, and then come back and have the other two get out? Or would you prefer to have all three of the pieces at one time?
And the one that is in the report is our current policy, so one that we are currently operating off of. We haven't drafted a new policy as of yet, so without council direction.
Okay,
So I've only included the one that's currently
96 or whatever the date was on that.
yes. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's missing
17.
a few key factors that would enhance our availability for bylaw compliance.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna wait for the recommendations till we talk about the next piece, or if somebody wants to make the recommendations, that's fine, we can move through them one by one. If not, I had a question on page 115 on the noise bylaw. Offenses and penalties. How does it work through an adjudicate, or if you could find this out for the cow, if it moves through towards the cow, how does an adjudication system work when it's a non-resident? Or a non-property owner, or how does that work? Those are still fines that are given to people?
Correct, so like a parking violation, often those are non-resident. And it would be attached to the license plate, or in the case of, you know, a person here, that definitely be an interaction I'd want RCMP to have.
Mm-hmm. Which,
They could get, you know, identification.
which I'd also like to remind anybody who's listening on in internet land or here in the gallery, or for all of us, the RCMP is your first call. If there's a noise bylaw at 2 a.m, please don't leave messages on the answering machine at the village office and expect someone to show up, because that's not happening. The RCMP are your first call, but our bylaws enhance their laws, their mischief, etc. Laws, provincial laws. Okay, and so then the last question on that, what if it was a penalty that, so even like a ticket, say for a resident, is there a mechanism through an adjudication system to put that on the tax notice?
That I would have to look into. It typically, what you can put on tax notices is specific to the property.
Okay.
So I don't believe that can be put onto property taxes.
What if it was a nuisance by law and it was something like unsightly premises,
Yes.
right? Would you check on that if this comes back to a cow? Make a little note to like kind of.
Definitely nuisance, we can, this one I know for sure, section 72, 73 under the charter.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. I have a bunch more questions that go through this, but let's see if this goes to a cow. Anybody want to make those recommendations? Councilor O'Connor.
The noise control bylaw received first reading and be placed on the June 11th, 2024 committee of the whole meeting for further discussion.
Okay, that's one. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Discussion?
I think
Go ahead.
my opinion is that there's just a lot of information here, and that really should go to a committee of the whole for discussion. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Any further conversation? I was almost going to defer this until after the other two happened, but I think after the conversation that the CAO and I had today, if we do this as a first reading, it shows the seriousness of it. It also shows some forward movement, and also maybe I'll make an amendment that, or should I do that afterwards, that all three of these come back together at the same time for final reading?
That would be, I think, maybe
A fourth? I'm gonna, so I'll have a subsequent after these three motions are made, so that they all come back at the same meeting, because that's they're in sync so much that I think that that's proper. And we can change it after first or second. It's after third that we can't change it after third reading, so. Okay. So with that, all in favor of doing first of the noise bylaw?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Second one.
Number two, that the discussion of the creation of a bylaw dispute adjudication system bylaw be placed on the June 11th, 2024 community of the whole meeting for further discussion.
Second.
Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Number three.
That staff be directed to provide council with the new bylaw enforcement policy at a future committee of the whole meeting for further discussion.
Second.
Questions or comments? I'm still thinking cart before the horse on this. I'm not gonna not vote in favor of it, but I do think that the policy comes first, then the maybe the dispute comes first, then the policy comes next, then the noise comes third, but I'm not gonna belabor that to death.
All going to the committee of the whole, so whatever way it goes from there,
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, these will all come to the June 11th.
yeah.
Oh, this one just says a future committee of the whole. It doesn't say the June 11th. That's okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. And then my fourth resolution would be that the noise control bylaw, the bylaw dispute adjudication system bylaw, be given fourth reading at the same, be finally adopted and passed at the same meeting.
Second. Second.
My reasoning behind that is, again, cart before horse, right? So this one, that policy that guides all of this stuff can come first, but those other two are intrinsically linked. And so hopefully that helps to staff to process through it. Okay. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Again, yeah, I've got a bunch of questions. So if you do, I think what I'm going to do when I leave this meeting is give the questions that I do have in the adjudication toolkit to CAO Nelson Smith so that he's prepared for that how on the 11th. I would suggest that all of you do the same, read through it, have a really good look. Any questions, give to him. That way he can have them all researched and, some answers for us while we work through the process. Sound reasonable?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, that brings us all the way to page 168. 300 page, no, I'm just kidding. 182 page. Staff code of conduct policy, CAO Nelson Smith.
Thank you. Not a lot further to add to the report. Just that in, myself as the administrator managing staff, it's a lot easier to do if you've got a template in how to administer that for everybody the same, the same way every single time. And then should any of us be replaced, that standard is the same for everyone time and time again. And so that's what these policies do.
Thank you for that. Questions and comments from council? I have one. I know that you worked through this with staff. Does staff or yourself feel that any of these would be, I read through it too, and it doesn't seem, what I'm looking for. Is it anything that anybody thought that any volunteers would have any trouble understanding or conforming to?
Was brought up to me.
Yeah, it's really straightforward. I just know how we suffer and fight for volunteers, so I'm like, does it seem prohibitive? I don't know. Okay, recommendation?
Recommend that the Village of Zeballos Code of Conduct policy be adopted by council.
Second.
We have our own code of conduct for council.
Correct.
Can we do this one too? No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't mind doing both. I know ours is a little more because of other issues that we deal with public, but this is a great one. So thank you for that. Questions? We're good? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. In camera, somebody want to move the recommendation in the agenda?
Motion's on
Motion.
count. Unit charter.
Section 90 LI. Section 90 LI. Okay, second, that was seconded by Councillor Lewis.
Sure. Yep.
All in favor? Conversation.
Aye.
No conversation. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Public question and comment period. Thank you for the gallery. Thank you to the gallery for being here. I'm not sure that everybody, there's new people in the gallery. I really know that because we're into that one.
Can't double the crowd.
So it has to be something that's on the agenda. We don't necessarily have to answer. There is something in our procedure by law that says so, that, you know, we will hope to find answers for you, but may not have those right directly at our fingertips this meeting. What else is under that? Please refrain from anything that is not contained in our code of conduct, like bad language. Just kidding.
Say like the truth.
Does anybody have any questions?
No, I was just wondering, like, for those people that live under all of that rockfall area, if any damage happens to them or their houses, who's liable for it? How will they get compensation? It's not part of the village, and it's not. They have to. Where would they go? I mean, it's not. I'm not there, but just wondering what would happen if your house gets smashed to pieces. Is it covered by their house insurance?
So your house, I believe, I don't know the answer to this.
Not
I'm
mine,
just,
because I'm not in that area.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering in general.
I don't have the answer to this at this moment. I do know that house insurance is, you know, personal insurance is a thing. And I also know that it's not anything, lots of the properties in that area, it's not something from a neighboring property either. So it wouldn't be a two kind of property. Yeah. Does staff have any kind of inkling on?
I don't have an answer that I would stand by tonight.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and a little comment, observing, I think it would be, I was quite touched by what you said, and I think it'd be nice if people did support you going to some of these meetings, and you're not just doing it all on your own. From a religious point of view.
And staff is great.
Yes.
They are huge supports,
Yeah.
definitely, for sure. And we understand people are busy. There's, you know,
But
there's a lot of
could
things.
be going with you, that's what, you know, you don't, should be going.
Thank you for that. Also, that is why we're trying to do all of these things, is to ensure that the province is being held responsible for their lands. Yeah, that's why we're moving all of these forward. Just as a sidebar. Yes.
Well, what I'd like to say to the mayor is that that area has become such a fire hazard as well. And when they're talking about, you know, we do our part, you do your part, those commercials that have been on TV lately, hey, they're not doing their part. My comment.
Thank you for that. As I'm scribbling notes,
We can leave now.
are those
we-
BC wildfire commercials? Are those
there's
BC
something-
wildfire?
Yeah, it's something to do with BC wildfire, and it's like, you know, you clean your gutters, that's your
Mm.
part. They drop the water, you know, and you clean up the debris that's in your.
Oh, I like it. Thank you so much for that little nugget, because I think that'll come up in conversations at UBCM, and I'll say, thanks to one of our residents,
Yeah.
Laura Welsh, we would like to. They brought up, no, I won't use your name, but thank you for those tidbits. Those little catchphrases sometimes mean a lot in a 15-minute meeting with 3 different topics. right?
Just get some drums and come on there.
Right?
We
Thank
do
you.
Our part, you do yours.
You do.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna say goodnight to everybody. See the garbage, truck in operation. That was-
Thank you, Lorna.
Bye, you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Please and thank you. Can I have a minute?
We should probably adjourn first.
Oh,
Motion to adjourn?
thank you, Councilor Lewis.
Second.
All in favor? Oh,
Aye.
questions, comments? No? Any opposed? Carried.